This series of videos is intended to provide the sport of obedience with a clear explanation of the individual obedience exercises, procedures, and scoring. It is not intended to be the only resource, and participants in the sport are encouraged to attend judges' seminars and above all read the regulations. This is not an AKC product. It is based on the obedience regulations and shares the interpretations of many AKC judges. KPS takes full responsibility for its content. In this video, we are discussing the Novice Heel on Leash exercise. The principal feature of this exercise is the ability of the dog and the handler to work as a team. The principal features are the minimum standard elements that must be accomplished in order for the handler and dog to be successful in this exercise. In order to best understand the regulations, they should be studied. Section 3 tells us that the maximum score for the heel on leash and a figure 8 is 40 points. The team must retain at least 20.5 points in order to qualify in this exercise. As a note, when the regulations say that you must or shall do something, or that you should not do something, what is meant is that the handler must do or avoid doing those things because a penalty may be applied. It doesn't mean that you can't do them. It means that doing the thing or not doing it may cost you points. The heel on leash is the first exercise in both Novice A and Novice B. To begin this exercise, the handler will enter the ring with their dog under control and set up in the place indicated by the judge. The handler is being scored from the time that they enter the ring until the time they leave. The judge may have made a mark on the mat with chalk or with tape. This is where the handler should position themselves. The handler should never position themselves forward of the mark. While this is not scored, it may require the judge to ask the handler to reposition themselves or their dog. The sit in the initial setup is not scored in any exercise in AKC obedience. The dog need not be straight. What may be scored is whether or not the dog is under the handler's control. Multiple commands or physical handling of the dog may result in a penalty. The judge will ask the handler if they're ready.
Are you ready?
If they're not ready, they should say no, resolve whatever issue they're having, and the judge will ask again. When ready, the handler should say ready or yes. They may nod their head if they prefer.
Ready.
The first order from the judge will be forward.
Forward.
The orders that follow are halt, forward, right turn, left turn, about turn, slow, normal, and fast, in an order defined by the judge. The judge will standardize the heeling pattern for all dogs in the class. Let's take a look at the exercise in its entirety. Later, we'll break it down into its components.
This is your heel on leash exercise. Are you ready?
Ready.
Forward.
When push.
Left turn. Fast. Normal. Left turn. Halt. Forward.
When push.
About turn. Right turn. Slow. Normal. About turn. Halt. Exercise finish.
Yes.
Notice how the dog adapts to the handler's speed and position rather than the handler adapting to the dog.
Normal. About turn.
At the start and following each halt, the handler may give a command or signal to heel and will walk briskly and naturally with the dog on a loose leash. The term heel position, as defined in the regulations, applies whether the dog is sitting, standing, lying down, or moving at heel. The dog should be at the handler's left side, straight in line with the direction the handler is facing. The area from the dog's head to shoulder is to be in line with the handler's left hip. The dog should be close to, but not crowding its handler, so that the handler has freedom of motion at all times. Lagging occurs when the dog moves back behind the handler as they travel. The dog's position must be at the midline of the handler in a way that places the midline between the end of their head and the top of the withers. Inconsistency in heeling, moving up and back even while remaining in heel, is scoreable. Forging occurs when the dog's heel position moves ahead of the handler as they travel. Crabbing occurs when the dog's rear feet are not tracking its front feet as it heels. This is also considered an imperfection in heeling and is scoreable. The dog should move close to the handler's left side without swinging wide, lagging, forging, or crowding. Turns are to be tight, but not in a military fashion. The judge will order the turn and the handler must respond promptly. The handler should not anticipate the judge's order. The handler is allowed to take a couple of steps in order to turn cleanly. The handler has a reasonable amount of time to respond, but lack of a prompt response may be penalized.
About turn.
All about turns will be right about turns. Turns and halts may only be ordered during a normal speed or pace. At each order to halt, the handler will stop. The dog will sit straight and promptly in heel position without command or signal and will not move until the handler again moves forward on the judge's order. The judge will say, "Exercise finished," when the heeling pattern is finished.
Halt.
Any additional commands or signals during the heeling should be avoided. Any non-prescribed movement of the hands may be determined to be a signal, so the handler should allow the free hand to hang naturally at their side. When the judge orders a fast, the handler must run, and the handler and the dog must move forward at a noticeably accelerated speed. If the handler has a medical reason that makes it impossible for them to run, they should inform the judge. When the judge orders slow, the dog and the handler must slow down noticeably. Following the fast or the slow, and upon the judge's order, the handler must return to the speed or pace at which they were moving before the change of pace order. The leash may be held in either hand or in both hands, but the hand that is not on the leash must be held in a natural position. There are times when the handler can touch the dog. The handler may pet the dog between exercises. They may guide the dog with the collar when off lead. The handler might touch the dog while encouraging the dog between exercises. The dog can never be forced into a position. Even touching the dog's hindquarters to force a sit is scoreable. Again, at each order to halt, the handler will stop. The dog must sit straight and promptly in heel position without command or signal and shall not move until the handler again moves forward on the judge's order. The handler must avoid stepping into the dog at the halt or signaling or commanding the dog to sit. Now let's discuss some details and scoring. While the regulations specify many of the deficiencies that must be scored, they do not list everything. The judge must use experience and discretion in the decision to apply a penalty. Penalties fall into three distinct groups: minor, 1/2 to 2.5 points; substantial, 3 points up to but not including an NQ. There are some areas of the regulations where NQ is included as a substantial penalty. Then, the score of non-qualifying, or NQ. NQ means the dog has not met the minimum standards to qualify. In obedience, teams may be released from the ring. This means that the team must leave the ring and the dog receives an NQ score. Some reasons for why a judge may release a team would include: the dog is exhibiting fear or nervousness. The dog may be continuously barking. The dog fouls the ring. The handler or the dog brings food in the ring. The dog may be released because the handler is training in the ring. Other examples are the handler wishes to leave the ring, or the handler wishes to perform a fix and go, at which time they will be released and receive an NQ. In Novice, if a dog non-qualifies in the individual exercises, the dog will not be allowed to return for the group exercise and will be listed as released. Beyond released, a dog may be excused from the ring. Some examples for excusing a dog from the ring would be a dog-on-dog attack. The handler abuses the dog. The dog may be unfit to compete. Or the dog has stitches or injuries. or the dog is unable to be examined by the judge. Other reasons might include the dog is lame, or the dog is a bitch in season. Another reason a dog may be excused is there is a bench or trial committee excusal. Dogs are rarely disqualified, but it occurs. Disqualification is not based on performance. Instead, it is based on behavior or action by the handler or dog. The judge can disqualify a dog for any of three reasons. The dog attempted to or attacked a person in the ring, in the judge's opinion, which is final. The dog has been altered cosmetically, for example, the insertion of nudicles, or the dog's hair has been permanently dyed. And finally, the dog is blind. Disqualification means the dog is excluded from AKC events and grounds until it has been evaluated by AKC and reinstated. Let's take a moment to talk about equipment. The dog must have a complying collar with no tags or objects hanging from it. The judge may offer the handler who has brought a dog into the ring with improper equipment an opportunity to leave the ring and return with the proper equipment. Buckle collars, chain training collars, and martingale-style collars are all acceptable. And while prong or pinch collars and electronic collars have their place in training, they are never allowed on AKC grounds. Leashes must be made of fabric or leather. We hope this video helps you understand the most fundamental exercise in obedience. We encourage you to read the AKC Obedience Regulations if you have questions.